Chapter 6. The power went off during the night again. As always, I was very scared, so I quickly grabbed my phone to get the least bit of light, but I didn't have much battery, so I tried to not use it a lot. At least I knew what time it was. It was 2 in the morning, and now what? All the boogeymen were musing in my head, and I couldn't even call Abdurrahman because I had no credit on my phone and no internet. I tried to sleep and after a while succeeded in a peaceful slumber. I woke up again at 9 o'clock in the morning, but it was still dark inside, which made me feel like I was in the twilight zone. So, using the light from my phone, I walked to the balcony where the sun was already shining and it lit up the living room. I sat there and I could finally see, and I felt lucky to have had that balcony. I had to go to the bathroom and I was hungry, but I decided I wasn't going back into the dark apartment. I sat quietly on the balcony and waited another 2 hours until Abdurrahman arrived. When he came, I was so angry at him for being so late and making me wait for such a long time. He immediately dropped to his knees and begged me my forgiveness and displayed a Mora chocolate bar for me as a surprise. He knew it would make me happy and in a good mood. He was right. I opened the candy bar right away and ate it. I felt so much better. Well, where are we going today? I asked. This is a surprise. Get dressed and we will go to a place where you will love it. Oh, I'm really curious. I love surprises. We hit the street right away. The sun was beaming and beautiful. The first thing we had to do was find Abdurrahman's car. He parked quite far and we had to go up a big hill. However, before we got to the car, Abdurrahman's friend Mahmoud was waiting for us. When I first saw him, I really liked him and we became friends right off the bat. He made me feel at peace and he was a good person. We got into the car and drove towards the citadel, El Ala. Along the way, we all talked about anything and everything. Mahmoud recited Surah Al-Fatiha from the Quran, and I felt kind of surprised by how much I was going to have to learn about Islam. When we finally reached the citadel, I could see how breathtaking it was from the outside. Abdurrahman went to buy tickets, but the saleswoman made a problem because they wouldn't believe that I was Egyptian, even though I looked the part. His attempt at saving money failed. They didn't want to sell him the Egyptian ticket, which was only 2 Egyptian pounds. So instead, I had to buy a European ticket, which was for 50 Egyptian pounds. Before he bought it, however, he asked me, "Do you really want to spend 50 pounds on admission? You won't regret it?" Of course, I won't regret it. This is why I am here, to see the Egyptian monuments. He paid for our entry, but he didn't say goodbye to the saleswoman politely. We still had to go through security to check the tickets and my passport to even let me in, but thankfully it was quite a process. Finally, inside the citadel, I was struck by such historic stone-walled beauty. However, we had no guide. Abdurrahman knew some information, but not much, so we just walked around. It was a big campus and had 2 floors. We ventured through the corridors and climbed all the stairs leading to different areas, with more spectacular surroundings. I was disappointed to find that my camera didn't have any battery left. Awesome. Now what? I noticed that Mahmoud had a really good camera phone, so I asked it if he could take a picture of Abdurrahman and me, but he apologized and showed me that he didn't have any battery either. And Abdurrahman's phone was of no use either, as it was very old and did not have modern functions. We were a real trio, no camera and no working mobiles. We had no choice but to enjoy the beauty and the sea that was all around us without taking any pictures. I learned that the king who had built the citadel had a spa built upstairs, so he could look far out to the sea and see potential enemies while he bathed. This struck me as a really brilliant idea. When we finished our sightseeing, we moved on. Abdurrahman really wanted me to enjoy the rest of the day, so he asked me if I wanted to go on a boat ride. Oh yeah, we definitely gotta go. He did point out that it would cost me 300 Egyptian pounds, and although he would have loved to pay me for it, he didn't have that much money on him. Never mind, it's worth the experience. I was happy to pay it even though I figured it was the last thing I was spending this much of my money on. I had to find a job or my money would run out fast. However, I was not going to stress about it yet. I was just going to enjoy myself. Before we went to the boat, the guys got the idea that we had to buy some water to bring with us. They told me the sun would burn us being out in the sea, so Abdurrahman went to buy about 2 liters of water. I thought it was quite unnecessary, but in the end, I was glad he bought it. The boys quickly and easily made a deal with ship's captain to give us a lift on his motorboat. We sat down facing forward so we would have a nice view. As soon as the boat started, Abdurrahman said, "Do you want to read?" He knew I took a book with me everywhere. I looked at him in amazement. I was surprised he was making this suggestion at such an exciting moment for me. Read? Now? Well, I don't want you to be bored. We are going to be here for about an hour. I'm not in the boat to read. I'm here to see the beauty around me. All right, enjoy. I have always loved sitting still and taking in my surroundings. Nature has always had a beneficial effect on me, and that day the sea was really calming, blue and clear. We went really far out, which I was glad about, because I love the calm, quiet serenity. From far out, the view of the Alexandria shores was amazing. With a glimmer of hope, I tried turning on my camera one more time, and I don't know what happened, but it came to life. I quickly snapped 2 photos that I still have to this day, and I look back on them with a smile. After those shots, the camera shut down completely. It was starting to feel very warm out, and the sun was already burning me. I was relieved that we had the water with us so I could quench my thirst. It became really incredibly hot. However, the hour passed so quickly that before I knew it, we were on land again. I was in great mood. I hadn't had such a beautiful day in a really long time. I thought about my family and how this was the best vacation I have ever had in my life. They never did what I did, but I was always way more adventurous and a risk taker. It was afternoon and we were all hungry, but we didn't have much money left, so we agreed to buy spaghetti and ketchup at the store. Oh, I love spaghetti, Abdurrahman declared. He kind of caught me off guard because I didn't really expect that. I have never met a guy who likes spaghetti. If he loves the same food I do, that's a bonus. He really had a lot in common with me, and thank God it was the only dish I knew how to cook. We finished our shopping and said goodbye to Mahmoud. Before Mahmoud left, he invited us over to his house the next day, saying that his mom would like to meet me. I was delighted and we promised to come. Back at home, I went into the kitchen to cook the spaghetti. The kitchen was really depressing and needed the cleaning. Everything was a mess. The stove, the pots, the floors. I really hated everything, but I hadn't had a chance to tend to it when I moved in. I had to cook somehow, so I washed 1 pot and 2 plates, but suddenly I saw a huge spider next to me. I screamed and ran out of the kitchen to Abdurrahman, who was on the phone with his friend in the living room. He was surprised. I was afraid of a harmless spider, but he went and killed it for me. In my eyes, he was my hero. I turned to go back to the kitchen, but he wanted me to say hello to his friend Hassan on the phone. Abdurrahman put the mobile to my ear and said, "Tell him enta bedzit," meaning you are out of your mind. I had no idea what that meant, but I said it anyway. Hassan laughed hysterically and replied, "Really? Am I out of my mind?" I realized then that I shouldn't repeat everything I was told in Arabic right away, as it could cause me embarrassment. I gave Abdurrahman his cell phone back. He too was laughing and said it was fine, only a joke that the Egyptian played on foreigners. I returned to the kitchen to finish the spaghetti. My next challenge was to figure out how to light a gas stove. I had matches, but I wasn't very good with them. In my European home, I had an electric stove, and that was a completely different experience. I asked Abdurrahman to come and help me. Without any effort, he was able to set it alight. I could finally throw the spaghetti in the water and let it cook. Meanwhile, I went to sit with Abdurrahman. More specifically, I sat on his lap and we started kissing even though he was still on the phone. Suddenly, Hassan asked him, "Are you kissing or something?" We both stopped. Abdurrahman answered, "No, she is in the kitchen cooking." "Well, I'm relieved," Hassan replied. I decided it was best to leave him alone and go back to the kitchen. The spaghetti was ready, but the next problem I faced was that I didn't know how to drain the water from the pot of noodles because there was no strainer, no lid for the pot, and not even an oven glove I could use. Searching in the cupboard, I found a random lid that could work, and I grabbed an old shirt to wrap around my hand to work as a glove. Of course, I scalded myself anyway. Classic me. At the time, though, I was still clumsy in the kitchen. Abdulrahman heard me screaming, and he rushed in to see what was going on. He said I would better go rest and that he will finish the meal preparation. I would never have believed that cooking something as simple as spaghetti would have been such a chore, but apparently I could write a whole book about it. It's success. Abdurrahman brought the food out on our plates and we ate, finally.